Hey everybody, JJ here. You're watching Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. It is Sunday, May 3rd, 2020. Topics on tap for today. Warren Buffett expects a U.S. economic miracle. Also, the travel industry implodes with 75 million job losses worldwide, including Expedia and Booking.com with big layoffs. Insolvent states to get backdoor bailouts. And we're going to talk about more than just that. Well, let's take a look at the first bullet point. Warren Buffett, he says there's going to be an economic miracle. What is he talking about? That seems pretty good. Well, keep in mind, Warren Buffett comes from a background of individuals who support bailouts, and they actually benefit from bailouts. Let's go back into an older article here. Warren Buffett, champion of bailouts, is also a leading beneficiary. For example, Warren's Berkshire Hathaway is the largest shareholder of San Francisco-based Wells Fargo Bank, which got $25 billion, which was 91% of the TARP funds invested in institutions headquartered in California. And Buffett actually front-ran the bailouts in the Fed. He said in an older interview, quote, "If I didn't think the government was going to act, I would not be doing anything this week," he told CNBC after investing $5 billion in Goldman Sachs. Quote, "I am to some extent betting on the fact that the government will do the rational thing here and act promptly," unquote. So what it looks like he's saying is that this economic miracle is going to be just Fed interjections into the system and rescuing banks with bailouts, buying bad assets off the books of the banks. Now, during the 2008 bailouts, Berkshire Hathaway also owned stocks like Goldman Sachs, U.S. Bank, American Express, Bank of America. Right, and this is just one example of how we can see how the rich get richer when there's financial turmoil. Now, this was a recent Yahoo.com report here. Let's see if we can listen and see what kind of economic miracle that Buffett might be talking about. Take a listen.
I would like to talk to you about the economic future of the country, because I remain convinced, as I was convinced of this in World War II. I was convinced of it during the Cuban Missile Crisis, 9/11, the financial crisis, that nothing could basically stop America. And we've faced great problems in the past. We haven't faced this exact problem. In fact, we haven't really faced anything that even quite resembles this problem. But we faced tougher problems, and the American miracle, the American magic, has always prevailed, and it will do so again. And I would.
So there we have it. It's the American magic. It's the American miracle. Now ask yourself, what is the American miracle? Is it hard work, or is it just bailouts that benefit people like him at the top, right? That profit from the government injection into the economy. Next topic, the travel industry implodes, 75 million job losses worldwide, and many of these companies are laying off their workers. Let's take a look at a recent report right here. Booking Holdings, this is Booking.com, to announce layoffs after securing a $4 billion loan. Now, it's disclosed here in this article that this company, Booking.com, had $8.5 billion in cash, but yet they still chose to lay off a lot of their employees. So when hard times hit, even companies with cash, they're going to be first to let employees go as part of their cost-cutting procedures. Also, Expedia.com has already laid off about 3,000 staff this year, and overall it looks to be about 75 million jobs are going to be lost from the travel sector as a result of this shutdown. Now, speaking of travel sites and vacations, I'm wondering how many people are waiting to get unemployment right now that took extravagant vacations in the past few years, right? Isn't it amazing how when this channel first came out, we had so many people saying that I was doom and gloom, that nothing bad could ever happen, this is America, right? No one ever thinks anything bad is ever going to happen. People always act like things are going to continue to go perfectly. Think about a mortgage, right? A lot of people will go out and they'll buy the most expensive house that they can get approved for. They figure as long as the bank approves them, that nothing bad will ever happen. So think about a 30-year mortgage. You're saying to yourself, okay, I can make this monthly payment and maybe I'll have $20 to spare at the end of the month. For 30 years, like nothing is ever going to go wrong in 30 years, right? What about job losses? What about an unexpected medical expense? What about a vehicle breaks down? Right? So many things can go wrong, and this shutdown really has unveiled the fact that so many people are unprepared for even one or two missed paychecks, right? You should not see, after 6 weeks, millions and millions of people, 30 million people, filing for unemployment in 6 weeks. And if you look at the total number of people, it is closer to 50 million and likely even higher. Here's a recent article right here. More than 70% of jobless Americans did not receive March unemployment benefits, a study. Some of them were able to file. They're still waiting to get their first check. But millions more were not able to even file. The websites are down. There's not enough staff at the state level to handle all of the new filings. Right? What if people were prepared? What if people had a 6-month emergency fund put away? A 6-month emergency fund, that means you have 6 months worth of expenses saved up. So if you lose a job, you're okay for a half a year. You have 6 months of emergency fund. So your rent, your mortgage, all your utilities, your food bill, everything is paid because you need to have an emergency fund. We've been talking about that for a long time here on this channel. But as you can see, most of America ignored the warnings. People listened to the politicians out there telling them that this was the greatest economy ever. And I believe it was very detrimental to the people because they put out this false confidence and had people spending money like there's no tomorrow, taking extravagant vacations, buying the newest car that they could buy, getting into the most expensive home they could buy, buying new clothes, right? Not saving any money for an emergency, right? We also noticed that here in a lot of these videos that showed people waiting in food lines. We saw what looked like many brand new expensive cars waiting in food lines, sometimes for hours, to get a free bag of food. Right? So we live in a country where people like to look like they're successful and like they're wealthy when they're really not. People would rather look wealthy and look cool instead of actually being wealthy, or at least having 6 months of emergency expense saved up. People would rather look rich and have zero in their checking or savings account versus maybe driving an older car and having a few $1,000s put away in your savings account. Right? That's America. Everybody's out to impress everyone else. Now, if you've ever noticed, a lot of the world's richest people tend to just look pretty ordinary. They don't dress to impress a lot of times. Right? And that's where we need to be. We need to live lean. We need to not try to impress people. Would you rather look cool, or would you rather sleep good at night knowing that you have several months put away in your savings or checking account? All right, next bullet point. Insolvent states get a backdoor bailout. Let's talk about this. And this is out of realclearpolitics.com, a backdoor central bank bailout of state governments. So what's happening is the Federal Reserve has then embarked on a previously unthinkable act, creating up to $500 billion in new fiat currency and lending it directly to states, cities, and counties through its lending facility. Right now, isn't it interesting that we have a government that's trillions of dollars in debt, printing money and giving out loans via the Fed to states that are also in debt? And it's another example. It's similar to the bank bailouts. We are rewarding failure. We're rewarding corruption. We're rewarding thievery. For example, look at some of the pensions in a few of these different states. It is outrageous. Let's take a look at a couple examples out of the state of Oregon. The new number one PERS, that's the Public Employees Retirement System pension, is a whopping $913,000 a year. So over $900,000. And take a look at some of these other occupations here. Well, this one was Joe Robertson, the president of Oregon Health and Science University, with over $900,000 a year. in pension. We also have a former football coach, the University of Oregon football coach Mike Bellotti, who retired in 2010, now receives $558,000 in pension annually. Right, so over $500,000 for a pension for a football coach, a college football coach. Meanwhile, we've got tent cities popping up everywhere, food lines, people missing their mortgage payments, people missing their rent payments. Probably millions of people are going to lose their homes. But yet the corporations, the banks, the states, they get the bailouts. They get the loans at ultra low interest rates so they can keep on paying out these foolish and insane retirement programs. And ultimately what they're going to have to do is they're going to try to pass the buck along to the working class, to the little guy, to you and me. And this is not going to work. People do not have the money saved up. Even people that have a 6-month emergency fund saved up, they cannot pay for these deficits and for these outrageous debts that the governments are running up continually. Right? It's a broken system. Now I think we're going to go through some rough times ahead. Probably the next 6 to 12 months are going to be very rough. But I think a lot of people are waking up. Remember, the economy was falling apart long before the shutdown. Right? This shutdown happened to come out at just the right time where it was a scapegoat for this economic collapse, which is unfortunate because a lot of people are looking in the wrong area. Remember, the banks, they had to get repo injections last September. Right? Banks are lending out money they don't have on an extreme level. It's fractional reserve banking on steroids. Right? People were already starting to become late on their car payments, their credit card loans, their student loans. Right? It was happening. This was just a scapegoat. But yet I still think a lot of people now are waking up and realizing how ill-prepared they were. And hopefully a lot of people will look higher into the system at the very top and see how this economic system is ran. And I think we're likely to see a lot of corruption and a lot of crime exposed in the coming months. So hopefully this will have a light at the end of the tunnel. I think it will. But try to hunker down. Try to stay positive. If you're out of work, hang in there. Try to do the things that you enjoy. What you didn't have when you were working is probably time. Now, if you're out of work, you have time. Do the things that make you happy. Research, read, do your hobby. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's getting in shape, right? Getting in better fitness. Grow your own food if you can. If you have a place to grow your food, if you live in an apartment, that's going to be very tough. If you do live in an apartment, maybe try looking for a place not so congested. Maybe try to find a single family home in a smaller city somewhere with a yard. And if not now, maybe maybe when you get back on your feet, that should be something that I think all of us should do. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to get a place out in the country with a little bit more land. But thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Appreciate your comments here. I'd like to see what you think about this down in comments. What do you think about this outrageous pension system in many states? Here's just a couple examples out of millions of examples, but this is just a couple out of Oregon. What do you think about this? Why would they continue to pay out such outrageous pensions when states are broke and running negative? Right. Also, Warren Buffett with the miracle that's going to be coming up here. Well, he really didn't say specifically, but it looks to be just more bailouts and more monopoly money being thrown at the individuals that caused the mess. Right. Also, the travel industry layoffs. What do you think about that? Well, to me, the travel industry was an unnecessary industry. Should people be taking vacations when they're going to be begging for unemployment after just 6 weeks? Right. Let me know what you think, everybody. Thanks for watching this report, and hope to see you again here soon on the channel, everybody. Bye for now.